Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to our Tanis Tax Consulting Services YouTube channel. For those who don't know, my name is Chak, and I'm the Director of Tanis Tax Consulting Services. Today, our topic of discussion will be on the waiver of debts. A waiver of debts can occur very commonly. If you are a company, it could happen between you and your supplier, or maybe you could even waive the debts of your customers. Also happens quite frequently within related companies where everyone believes that everything is just a left pocket to a right pocket transaction, so they'll just waive debts here and there. Third thing that could also commonly happen would be between employers and employees, where let's say a staff borrows money from the company, and if they have difficulty paying back the money, the loans, then the company will just waive it. Of course, in practice, it seems simple to just do a waiver of debt. So what happens is the company will just say, I will waive this debt and I will not collect the money from you anymore. But in reality, there is a lot of tax implications that you need to see both for the lender and also the borrower. So for today, our focus will be only on the borrower. What happens is for borrower, when your debt is getting waived, of course it is a good news for you, but did you know that there is a potential that you could also be subject to tax, even though you're not getting any money from this waiver? If we look at Section 30 Sub 4 of the Income Tax Act. So this is the only law in the Act which deals with waiver of debt. You can see that, just to summarize, Section 30 Sub 4 says that if you have a debt which relates to an expense which you have already claimed a deduction under Section 33(1) of the Act, or where you have claimed capital allowance because you bought a fixed asset and you claim capital allowance on it. When the debt is waived, you need to bring the amount which was waived to tax under Section 4A of the Income Tax Act as your business income. For example, if a company, I have purchased my stock in trade from a supplier. Due to difficulty in paying back that amount, the supplier decides to waive the entire amount. So when I purchase, the price which I incur for the stock in trade, I have claimed a deduction against my income. When my supplier waives this debt, the total amount that he waives, now I have to bring it back to tax as my business income because of Section 30 Sub 4 of the Income Tax Act. It's just not a simple case of you being forgiven of a debt and you can get off scot-free. Unfortunately, Inland Revenue won't leave you alone for that. But now let's look at another scenario. So what happens is you owe money to your supplier where you have purchased stocks in trade from him, and of course you have claimed a tax deduction. Now, instead of him just waiving the debt, you have borrowed money from your related company to settle off the debts of your supplier. Then what happens later is, because you are both just related parties, the director or the shareholder just decides, okay, I'll just waive off this amount. So you will not owe me any more money. Do you think this will be subject to Section 30 Sub 4 of the Income Tax Act? The answer is no. Because if you think about it, the amount that I have claimed a deduction on, which is the stocks which I purchased from my supplier, there is no debt to be waived because I have fully settled the debts with my supplier. I'll treat this as transaction A. For transaction B, I'm just borrowing money from my related company. Here, I did not claim any form of a tax deduction. If the related company wants to waive transaction B here, the amount that I owe him, Section 30 Sub 4 cannot be applicable in this case because there is no deduction claim or capital allowance being claimed on this debt here. The other case where I've claimed my deduction, the transaction, or I have settled it with my suppliers, there is no debt there. Does this mean that in this case, what you can do is just borrow money from your related company, pay off your debts, and just waive it and you'll be off scot-free? The answer is no, because now the Inland Revenue is also taking a different approach to this type of waivers between related companies. What they'll say is, they won't go under Section 30 Sub 4 to say it's a waiver. They say is, you as a company, you are receiving a form of subsidy for you to run your business. So this should be a form of business income. The only section they'll go for is you have received a form of income under Section 4A of the Income Tax Act. and therefore you need to bring this business income to tax. And so far, the revenue has been very successful because there are two cases, the Felda trading case and also the multipurpose Sdn Bhd case, where the courts has also sided with the IRB on their decision to bring this amount to tax under 4A of the Income Tax Act. Of course, if you want to do any waivers, it doesn't mean that everything being waived will be brought to tax, but you need to be very careful and you need to make sure that you have looked at the details and everything, and what is the amount being waived, of course, what is the nature, what has the amounts been used for, before coming to a decision whether is it worth waiving the loan or whether you should repay and settle it. There's also another thing I would like to address, which is waivers between employers and employees. Please note also, for as an employee, if you have a debt to your company and your company is waiving it off, it doesn't mean that you will not be taxed on this amount also, because it could potentially be a perquisite. So this could be brought to tax as part of your employment income. Also, if you have a loan being waived, if you borrowed money, for example, to buy a car, to buy a house, and now your employer is waiving this loan, you need to be very careful as well to see what is the tax implication to you as an individual. I believe that would be all for today. Thank you very much. And if you found this content helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you, and I hope to see you again.